Call Scottsboro work session Monday, June 1st, to order. Invocation given by Mr. Tony Wallingsford and pledge of allegiance given by Mr. Gary Stewart.
Heavenly Father, as we come before you this evening, we pause to give you thanks and praise. We thank you for the opportunity to come together, and we invite you here among us as we address the issues of the city. We ask your blessings and your grace over this community, over its workers, its citizens, and its servants. It's in your precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on tonight's agenda is Roseberry Rescue Group. Lowell, front please.
Is it on? Can you hear me?
That you maybe did. Go ahead.
It's okay, I'll talk loud. Good evening, and thanks for adding us to the agenda tonight. I wanted to bring up to speed on the happenings since we last came before the council and you approved the $40,000 contribution to the rescue project. Since then, we have gotten $36,000 or so from the homeowner, property owners, and so we're very close to meeting the contingency for matching the $40,000 and being able to clear the one contingency. We've also had a committee meeting of our leadership committee and passed a mandate from our committee that funds to be used for this project would only, the city funds would only be used for the buying of chemicals or the paying of the service provider for the weed treatment program. So we are very close to meeting the first contingency and haven't met the last contingency. However, there are some issues that have popped up that we didn't fully expect. The first being that we've gotten information back from the legislative delegation that they are not going to fund the project this time, which is a huge disappointment. As you know, in the past, they've funded at the same level, excuse me, at the same level as city council. And so it was a big surprise to us that in the middle of this issue with the TVA in lieu of taxes funds and those issues that have been reported and have been discussed recently between city council, county commission, and the legislative delegation, they've made a decision that they're not going to fund the program this time. And also, as you know, in the past, we haven't had cooperation or support from the county commission either. So the project has to be scaled back. We have made some proposals for scaling that back. We'll have a meeting again of our committee tomorrow night and finalize the decision. But we're approximately $20,000 short of the original planned scope, and we plan to make adjustments to the scope to accommodate that unfortunate underfunding situation that we're faced with. We believe that the obvious step will be to eliminate the area of County Park area, which is the furthermost boundary of the treatment program, and that will more or less accommodate the shortfall that we have. And it seems to make sense since, as you know, the County Park Marina is the only commercial venture in the entire embayment. And yet we still have difficulty getting any support for the project from that group. And we are in the window of moving forward with the project. We intend to start the weed treatment on Thursday or Friday this week, because TVA reported after they surveyed the lake for 2 days last week, they reported in a meeting that we had in Gunnersville last week that the weed problem is very bad this year, and we can expect it to be a real problem and continuation of the kind of unfortunate non-native invasion of these weeds that we've been accustomed to for the last few years. And with that, if you have any questions, I thought it was important that we came and gave you an update. We're very close to asking for the funds to be released after meeting that last contingency. So I'm certainly open to answer any questions if you have.
Anyone have any questions for Lord?
Well, are you guys coordinating with TVA when they do the shoreline spraying? Will you guys do that all in conjunction?
It's the same provider doing both processing, even though they'll be done separately. With this fluoridone treatment, you make the first treatments and then they do some water testing and then determine when you go back to make the maximum benefit from the treatment. And they'll do that along with the other things they're doing with, from Jackson and Marshall County. They're responsible for that whole treatment program with TVA from Jackson and Marshall County folks. So it's the same provider that's doing the work for us there. And it'll be well coordinated, I'm sure, as always.
Mr. Kimmer, as we wrote the proposal, I believe it was in the motion that the $40,000 fee contingent on them raising another $60,000, but we have to go back and change that.
If the motion is, as you mentioned, and I've seen before, that's what it was, that's what we did apply.
It may be that, I had a recollection that it was matching fund, that if we could match that 40,000, then that was a contingency, but you could be right about it. You'd have to look at the record and see if that's what it says. But it's for sure that we won't reach that number. Now that we had depended on that last 20,000 to come, at least 20,000 to come from the legislative delegation, and it appears that's not going to happen now. But, on the positive side of that was we didn't anticipate to have this sort of contribution level from the property owners. So the interest from property owners has been greater than and participation greater than we first expected. But also we were disappointed by the decision of the legislative delegation.
You're still accepting funds though from the property owners,
We're
correct?
still pressing for funds and doubling our efforts to try to increase that number. And we expect that we'll reach the 40,000. That's what we had. That's my maybe misinterpretation was that if we could meet some matching number, then that would be sufficient.
We'll look at it, Lowell, and make a decision next week at our council meeting. So, the mayor will get back with you and let you know exactly. We can find out tomorrow.
Wendy's out sick, but we'll get her to pull that.
Okay.
At the time. When are you meeting again? For your?
We're meeting tomorrow.
We'll let you know tomorrow.
Okay.
And I'll get it to the council.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mayor, before you quit, may I ask one question? What's the possibility of going back to the county commission under these dire circumstances? I mean, they've got a big part in this thing too, as far as county park and all that and area in there, and if that clogs up, they're dead as far as their boat rental and all that stuff. I don't understand why they don't, to some degree, participate as well. I know they have a financial problem, but all of us are, to some degree.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, it's a question we've asked each of the 3 times that we've done this project. It seems to us to be logical, but in each of the 3 times we've had difficulty. And it appears to be just the answer is no. And then with the other underfunding issues they have, I don't want to speak for them, but the answer is the underfunding issue they have, that it's just a non-starter. And we know that there has been some movement of the TVA in lieu of taxes funding between the delegation and the county commission for the future in that context. And but somewhere in the middle of all that, we find ourselves. And with that in mind, the only thing that's clear is that at this moment, when we need these funds, we're not going to be able to get them. The disappointment is the legislative delegation, because in the past, as it was always with the city council of Scottsboro, you could see the benefit of this, this citizen effort, because that's really what this is, a citizen effort in cooperation with some of the some of the interested parties, and you could see the benefit and have always supported us, and we expected that this time, and we're disappointed by it, and not getting that support this time.
One of the biggest recreational things we have and the biggest start that we'll cover all of
It's
it.
and it's an issue that scaling it back will have to be paid for someday. We won't do that project in full this year, but scaling it back eventually that'll have to be paid for. It's always more costly if you delay. That's why we've always come on a 3-year plan. I mean, you're talking about in this case, you know, 3 years with $20,000 we can finish it. So if you look at that $20,000 investment over the course of 3 years, it's really marginal that we're talking about. But apparently it is significant enough in this environment of those changes that it's just not possible. The information. Any more questions?
Mr. Kimmer, you know the status of that UTVA bill, has it been, then they just, I think the last publication they was Saturday, right? So there's a possibility it may not even get through.
It's very possible that nothing will get through. I think there are 4 legislative days.
So the earliest it could have even been introduced was probably today. I guess the last publication was Saturday. I think that's correct.
So you can see that in that environment, it's just difficult to get a positive decision on it. And we need it now because the project has to go forward this week to keep it in that window of the most effective, so that we have the most effective project. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is Gary Morgan with water and the river, Chase Mobile Home Park.
Thank you, Mr. President, council members, mayor, citizens of Scottsboro. One of the things that I also do in here, I'm a tenant representative of the tenants at River Chase Mobile Home Park out there. And we've had some problems in the past, as the mayor, Mr. Smith, and some of the other council members, Mr. Kimmer can attest to, and this is the reason I'm standing before you here tonight, is discuss with you one of the problems and ask for your help and support of basically innocent people. It's what has happened out there. Unfortunately, we have what I don't think could be called anything else other than a slum landlord. That's how I'm going to characterize her, and I'll stand behind that characterization in a court of law if I have to, because it's what we've been subjected to is basically is unconscionable. The place is run down. If you haven't been there to drive around there, I highly encourage you to do so, to get the ambience and the feel of exactly what I'm fixing to describe to you. I mean, you have run down, dilapidated structures which have no walls, no floors, no water, and they're just sitting there collecting burning, and they're basically a public nuisance. Now, the city in the past has issued forth a summons to the folks out there and sued them in court. All that worked for a little bit, not for very long. Basically, it's what it takes is keeping a strong thumb and hand in the situation at all times with the police powers of this city to ensure that that landlord accomplishes her responsibility to the tenants, number one, and the community surrounding there, number two, in the city of Scottsboro. There's distinct responsibilities that she has to the tenants there she is not meeting. And I say she. I'm not going to mention a specific name, but that can be found out. The reason I'm standing before you today and this evening is because of a recent incident last week where the water services was terminated to women, children, babies, disabled people of the Lakeside Mobile Home Community. In other words, and that water service was terminated for the sole purpose because the owner did not pay the water bill to the Scottsboro Water, Sewer, and Gas Board. In other words, they kept that money that the tenants in good faith paid her, which we figured we pay about $35 a month. And all of us sitting here are tenants out there. We own our own homes, but we rent lots out there from the owner.
So we meet our responsibilities, and the large majority of people do meet their responsibilities. But there's a problem with the landlord not meeting her responsibility, or the management not meeting their responsibility. We need your help. And we had a discussion between the mayor and Mr. Smith and the city attorney here just a little bit ago. We sat in there and had a real frank discussion about it. And I'm sure that the city wants to do all that is possible to assist the innocent, there's no other way to call it, victims. I mean, when you pay for a service and that service is terminated, I don't know how else to describe yourself and others other than you've been victimized by the wrongful ways of a slum landlord. And that's what happened. Now, water, sewer, and gas came out and turned the water off because the landlord did not pay them, tendered the payment to the water, sewer, and gas board. And payment had been tendered to the landlord, amount of $35 per month. There's approximately 207 people that reside there, according to management, in 65 individual residences. That's according to the management. So, and like again, I say, I want to emphasize, these are innocent people whose water was terminated. Now, Gary here went to the police after all this. I had a discussion with Mr. Light. We talked about it when the water, sewer, and gas board served notice that it was going to be terminated. At that point, I talked to the health department. I talked to ADM about this. They couldn't help. I asked the water, sewer, and gas board, Mr. Light, is there any way this could be curtailed? No. They tried to get the owners to pay the bill. They didn't pay it. They were in arrears, quite a bit of money, as I've since found out. So Gary, I said, okay, they're not paying their bill. They have taken my money and defrauded me. In other words, that's theft by deception, right? You pay somebody money and they come and take your property away or what is yours, or they keep you from having your property, that's theft. So I went to the police department and filed a statement for those facts, and with witnesses there with me. And basically the officer took a statement, called up the landlord and said, or the manager, and said, are you going to pay this bill or not? Well, blah, 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 blah. Give all sorts of excuses. We're just checking the system, we're doing this, which was all received. So basically he said that Mr. Board is going to give you an hour to pay the bill, or we're going to confer these charges on, we're going to sign this statement and have a case number and go forward to the DA. Well, I went to the water department waiting patiently for them to pay the bill. He did come up there after about an hour and tendered the $1,900 that was due to the water, sewer, and gas board. So I called back the police department and said, well, they have not been defrauded at this point. The water is back on. And it was confirmed. Mr. Light sent folks out there and turned the water back on. But look, this is a problem. It has occurred before. It will occur again. The dilapidated state of the structures out there and the abysmal state of the community, it reflects on the city of Scottsboro, it reflects on the neighborhood, it reflects on me. We don't like it. We don't like it anymore. Y'all would like it. So I'm asking here, y'all, to help us. Help us do what's right. Don't penalize innocent people. And I'm going to talk to the water, sewer, and gas board just like I'm talking to y'all tonight about this. But there's got to be solutions. I think we can work through it as a team, together as a community. Don't penalize innocent people. Now, it said, well, you can sue the landlord. Sure, you can sue the landlord, but what are you going to do in the meantime? If you ain't got water, you cause me a tremendous, not only inconvenience, you're creating an unhealthy situation. So, this needs to cease. It needs to stop. I'm asking for y'all's help, and I'm sure that the mayor and the code enforcement officer will do what is necessary. Mr. Kenner will do as necessary. I'm asking for y'all's help. Hey, if you look at different cities around in the state of Alabama and the southeast, they have mobile home park regulations that has a specific set of guidelines that they must meet. Now, this may have been even discussed at Scottsboro at one time, some time ago. It seems like there's something in the back of my mind about this. And, maybe some grandfather clauses or something. But grandfather clauses for this individual, the landlord out there, ain't going to work. You're just going to have to make an example and enforce it and continuously observe what's going on and correct it when there's improper action and mistreatment of citizens. Hey, I may be poor, there may be more influential people in here than me, but I have the same rights to the law as everybody else does. Help us out here, folks. That's what I'm here asking you. I appreciate your time. There is, as I told Mr. Light and his employees when they turned the water off out there, I said, hey, look, there's no hard feelings. This is not personal, but this has to stop. It really does. It has to stop. And he said, hey, he talked to his people about, his management over there. What can we do to help resolve this situation? I don't know if he's capable of anything. But I said I'll be talking to those folks, and I'm talking to y'all, and I think it can be resolved with proper application to place the onus on her responsibility, that slum landlord out there, to improve. Oh my gosh, you're just going to be fined over and over and over again. And that's just the way you got to deal with it. Hate to say it, but that's just it. Mr. Kenworth knows what the situation is there. So I'm here if you got any questions of me. Please feel free to ask.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Morgan?
What happens if we figure out a way to put pressure on these people to correct these problems? Instead of correcting these problems, they walk away.
That's a possibility. That's always a possibility. It wasn't too long ago, I was calling the bankruptcy court up in Tennessee to find out what was going on. The property has been bankruptcy once before. There is a mortgage on the property. Exactly how much? I've been told about 50 grand. Of course, the property's worth a considerable amount more. Hey, we can come up with plans. I mean, there's plans how we can make it productive. But, hey, I don't own the property. So there's nothing I can do about it. And try to talk with it. I could get more response out of talking to this wall right there than I could talking to the owners. And that's just the way it is.
But I think Keith's got a good question. What are you going to do if we have to come out there and we're forced to shut it down? Then you're going to be right back here complaining.
If you shut it down, then we've really got a problem. You see, you got a problem. You have basically put 200 people, men, women, children, infants, babies out in the street. There's got to be a give and take. There has to be a resolution, a way to resolve this problem, other than just taking it. That's the easy way out. I understand what you're saying. That is the law. That can happen. To shut something down in public nuisance, yes, that can happen. But there's got to be a better way to do it. By utilizing the law and utilizing good sense that we all have to work through it. I mean, me just going up there making the indication of the threat, hey, you're probably going to go to jail. Some handcuffs are coming your way if you don't pay this bill. They're going to pay the bill.
I remember the same conversation, maybe different elements, on more than one occasion to the city council. But all different city council people, all different mayors. Never seen one group of them come up with a solution yet, and I don't know that we can. Because I don't know if it's exactly in our area of how we do things, if we're allowed to do what you're asking us to do. And I think it's time that we research it, and if we can, we do, and if we can't, we go another route.
Well, we know you can cite that there. We know that. We know you can cite the property owner for violations of the code, and there's numerous violations. So, and that's not occurring right now. And we also know, you can make it a public nuisance and vacate the property. Yeah, you can do that. But once again, if you do that, it's going to be a tremendous. You think my video and story that I wrote there, it was bad? Now you think about it. If you're going to dislocate 200 poor people, I just can't stand by and not have a comment to that, nor ask other organizations to come in for help. And I don't think it has to go that far. I think it can be resolved here if pressure is applied to the owners of the property.
It sounds like we're being lined up for doom and failure, to be honest with you, because if all those people could never come up with one solution to, and sometimes it was garbage, sometimes it was roads, sometimes it was water, and sometimes it was other things. But not one solution was ever found that I'm aware of, and I sat through all of them. And I wish, and I don't know how we go about it at all, I wish we could find a solution to help you. Because I agree, you need help bad.
I would disagree, I agree with you partially, I disagree. Here's where I disagree. I don't think there's been adequate pressure applied to enforce the law. In other words, I don't think that every violation out there, and it may break it, I don't know, but I don't think it will. I think she's going to pay more attention, as has happened in the past. But she's had to go to Barrett Court and pay the big fees to an attorney and face the order of the judge. She temporarily comes around to seeing things the way they should be done. But that, I just don't think the solution is to enforce the law and enforce it stringently at all times in this instance of this landlord.
I would like to see the council president form a committee, and that committee to include Mr. Cameron, all of us, the committee, whomever, he might be willing to. And I would say him.
But guess what? You're gonna be on it.
I don't mind being on, it, to be honest with you, but that group, look at all the aspects of what they could do, and even get some legal advice and some other advice, and see if there's something we can do. I think we can do it better that way than when we can just sit down and talk about all these things with each other.
I appreciate that, I really do. I think you're exactly right.
As a start.
It's better, certainly better than one or two.
Mr. Smith will take your advice and form a study group, which would be yourself, Mr. Cameron, Mr. Wallingford on this. Okay.
You're going to include any of the tenants at the mobile home park who this study group obviously includes?
The study group will consult with you and representatives of the mobile home park.
Okay.
And probably the first thing we do is go look at it.
Please do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go reports. Mayor?
As you all know, last week we lost a true gentleman in our community, Mr. Mark Scott Skelton. His family goes back to the founders of the Scotts and Scottsboro, and Mr. Skelton had been just a great community servant for all his years. I think he was 95 years old. He always put his family first, but Scottsboro was right there second, right behind him. He really loved this town and the city, and he wanted to see it grow. And everywhere you look, you see his fingerprints all over things and how Scottsboro's grown through the years. He was a founding member of the Tree Commission, which I think Wednesday, I believe, will be recognized for 30 consecutive years as being a tree city. It's either 29 or 30, I don't remember. But he was a founding member of that up until his passing within the last year. He was a member of the chamber, worked real hard with that. He's part of the 2020 vision plan for Scottsboro that was done in 2000, and now 2020 is not so far away. And so he would call me several times about that plan and what are we doing and trying to work towards seeing that through. And then his last, one of his last efforts was he was excited about the downtown redevelopment that's coming with the renovations down there. So at least he could get to know that we are working on that. And got an email today about it that the plans are 60% complete, so we'll be finishing or working towards that completion towards the end of the year on the plans. But we express our sympathy to him, to his family, his wife, his 2 sons and grandchildren. We'll certainly miss him. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Wallingford?
Just thank everybody for coming out. That's all I've got.
Mr. Smith?
I went to that funeral and I listened to his granddaughter, I listened to his grandson, I listened to a lot of other people speak. They spoke about a lot of different things that he did and was good at, but one of the things that impressed me most was how he was toward his family. And while sitting there listening to all that, it made me wonder all the shortfalls that I came up with my family and my kids. If I could have probably been half the man that he appeared to have been, I would probably have been a lot better father. It was quite an impressive you know, there is such a thing. But he was a great man.
Miller? Gary Stewart? Just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight.